Hey guys. I'm sure you've noticed, but we have some problems on the right. I've been talking to a lot of YouTubers behind the scenes, and it seems that a lot of us have stopped consuming content. I don't think that it's due to a decline in quality of content, but rather that so much has already been said. I cannot watch another video on migrant rape, on civilizational collapse, on demographic demise. It isn't that these issues aren't of the utmost importance. Of course they are. It's because viewing the world through this lens has taken its toll on us psychologically. You guys know how this goes. The scales fall from your eyes, and you can never again slip back into the comfort of naivete. You can't watch a movie without picking up on the subversive undertones. You can't have a conversation with an old friend without thinking, what a dumbass they are. There is no going back. This does have some benefits. You see things for how they really are. You can affect change because you know the truth. But it blows apart the small joys of mundane living, and everything becomes a little bleak, a little sad, a little harder to cope with. That's part of the problem with the right, the nihilism. But we've got other issues. There's a huge amount of infighting going on. And while this creates a host of problems, including an inability for us to become friends with one another despite having so much in common, the real issue with this is that it gives the left an opportunity to seize upon the discord. The left is better at creating a unified front. Yes, there's a fair amount of cannibalizing going on, considering that male feminists are getting Me Too'd left, right, and sideways, and that unholy alliances like that between Muslims and the LGBTQ community are inherently incompatible. Nonetheless, their hatred of the right and their desire to deplatform all of us creates something of a cohesive unit. That isn't to say that we shouldn't be critical of one another. There is less ideological conformity on the right, and that's probably a good thing. Many of us come from libertarianism, from even further left. Much of this dialogue is serving to reveal the best way forward in a unique cultural environment. My beliefs have changed drastically from the start of my channel. Most of all, though, I'm seeing a distinct break between those that still believe in the concept of America and those that see America as a failing experiment. When I first started this channel 3.5 years ago, I thought the most important thing is the salvation of America, an adherence to our constitutional values, a resurrection of the principles that serve to protect our freedoms. But over the years, I've become increasingly distrustful of our government and more convinced that in the event we're able to save America from certain destruction, if we rebuild in the same image, it will once again be destroyed by multiculturalism and by creeping liberalism. As such, my focus has changed to wider Western values. Of course, unfettered free speech, 2A, these uniquely American traits are incredibly important to me. But I realized that I'm not trying to save America. I'm trying to save the rebellious, irreplaceable Western spirit that birthed America. Along the same lines, we've fractured on the acceptance and the rejection of identity politics. I've spoken about this at great length on my channel. Some videos are linked below, so I'll try to avoid redundancy, but I think the entire concept of identity politics is retarded. All of us, every single one, use personal characteristics, immutable or not, to inform our political opinions. I keep hearing the argument that religious conviction is not an immutable characteristic, which is true in some circumstances. But what if it is inextricably linked to your ethnic heritage, your family, your ancestry, your community? No one, despite their declarations, is actually going to inform their political opinion without viewing domestic and foreign policy through the lens of their in-group's best interest. No one. Not only that, but we can't really ask people to do that. People respond to incentives and they're motivated by self-interest. To expect otherwise is to try to fundamentally change human behavior. We have to accept that all people will use their life experience to inform their worldview, thus their political philosophies, and act accordingly. That means we must expect all groups to protect their self-interest, and we must protect our own self-interest. If we don't, no one else is going to do it. That is where this issue is causing discord on the right. Lots of conservatives will say, your identity is American. You must protect that first and foremost. And I used to agree with this. But what if you see that America is failing to protect individual freedoms? What if you see that it has become a total bastardization of the original framework? What if you see that the government can't be trusted and not only has gone astray, but has committed unforgivable acts? What do I have in common with a conservative that has no group identity and only wishes to conserve that which is modern America, a nation I can barely identify with anymore? So with whom do I belong? I identify with the nation's founders, with my Western European ancestry, with Catholics and other Christians. In every video in which I discuss my return to Catholicism, I get comments about the invalidity of rediscovering Christianity as a means of developing a cohesive community. I think this is a good point, and likely that Jesus would view that as a superficial reason to adopt a Christian perspective. I would think that he wants us to return to him to seek salvation in a corrupt world, to seek order in chaos, to find a path for love and redemption, because we have really, really screwed things up. Those should be the reasons that we're returning to Christianity. But it would be foolish to deny the accompanying benefit of widespread Christianity. It bound communities and nations together for centuries. That is something that we are notably lacking, and I believe is at the heart of the failure of the America Project, this loss of faith. That's the right's Achilles heel, and the left knows it. That is what these George Soros stooges like Becca Lewis and Jared Holt have seized upon. They can take us out one by one through deplatforming because we do not have a strong commonality or universal conviction that really unites us. Unlike the left, that is united through their hatred of Western culture, of white people, of Christians, they have a more uniform conviction. And it really is rooted in righteous indignation. They think that they're actually fighting racism, that they're doing good work, helping the oppressed, fighting intolerance. Of course, they're actively destroying personal freedoms to appear tolerant to their friends and to do some globalist bidding. But they're useful idiots that feel the power of their collective indignation. That's what we need. Who has a right to righteous indignation more than Europeans and Americans that are losing their nations, that are being silenced by corporations, by their governments, whose lives are being destroyed for speaking plain truths, even in private conversation, who cannot practice their religion freely, who are demonized by their media, their community, whose daughters are being sacrificed at the altar of this so-called tolerance, and instead of standing up and fighting, they praise the benefits of diverse food culture at their daughter's funeral. It's insane. Entire generations, entire nations subverted through a century of carefully crafted messaging, through a takeover of academic environments, through the widespread utilization of every Alinskyite tactic in government and schools and media. Who has a right to righteous indignation more than us? And that's how we win. All of the infighting, these proclamations that were vehemently against identity politics, that we're not like those people on the fringe right. None of this is going to save you. It will just serve to destroy us all. The left came first for the people that are likable, are funny, have a common sense message with an appealing delivery, like Gavin McInnes. They can write off others as extremists so they aren't as dangerous, but they cannot divide and conquer if we're united in our rage. That's something they don't seem to realize about this deplatforming, as they saw when they did this test and deleted Black Pigeon Speaks channel. They act like people are just going to be like, okay, I guess he's gone forever and we'll just adopt the mainstream narrative like this dweeb from the New York Times article a few weeks back. That isn't going to happen. It's just going to fuel the righteous indignation. And when people like Becca Lewis repeat that deplatforming works, what they're underestimating is the power of martyrdom. Every time someone's income is taken away, their family suffers consequences, the pity and outpouring of financial and emotional support is commensurate with the severity of the attack. Our views increase, we fortify our modes of financial support, And if our channels get shut down, there is an unquenchable thirst for justice and revenge. It's a really dangerous game they're playing. No matter, they're going to keep coming for us one by one, wearing us out, continuing to proclaim their victory as we get picked off. The solution: we need a new batch of high energy people in the field that are protected. I'm not going to discourage women from starting channels, but I can say firsthand that we have fragile egos and don't do as well long term. We need men that are financially independent, don't largely rely on income from corporate streams, that don't care about media hit pieces, about doxing, about being painted with a broad brush. Families always have consequences, so their wives have to be on board, but being single might even be better. And of course, we all need to diversify our platforms. My BitChute and Gab links are below. So if you have a channel that fits that criteria, you think you do some good stuff, send me some videos and I will start helping you launch these. We need some new blood. Thanks, folks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.